Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. Tonight we're going to talk a bit about Sophia, but you could really consider it to be like the entire divine feminine uh, side of the spectrum when it comes to the all that is Father, God, the highest thing, what Jesus called Father, because it is everything. It is everything. I talk about it. Kenneth talks about it on his channel. It really depends on what type of energy, what type of guidance, what's really going on. It's like, are you dealing with the divine masculine and divine feminine side? And I usually just say Sophia to keep it simple. But there's so many flavors and levels of her. Like Sophia, if we want to get complicated, like she's kind of in the middle, but then you've got like, you know, first thought, Barbella, Protenoia, the higher divine mother that's part of the mother father. Because if you read your Nag Hammadi and you read the secret book of John, which is the one where he breaks down how everything works from the top down, the Father is the great invisible spirit. It is everything. There's nothing that is not within it. But the first thought that it had created, she who came forth in shining light, its reflection. So those two are the highest. They're pretty much one and the same. But when you have times like the video that we did yesterday, like it's been rough. It's been rough. The energy of this place is completely unsettled. And those of us that are more sensitive and more plugged in, it's just, it's like being in a rock tumbler. It's just jacking us up. So I was just so tired, so sore, so everything last night. When things get to like that level, what I have found works is you gotta pray, connect. I mean, we do that all the time, but there are times like when you need help, like you really need help, uh, uh, more than usually she's there, she's advising you, she's jumping in and out, but there are times when it's like, look, I'm getting my ass beat here, you know please help me. And when you do that, I address it to the mother father, you know both sides of the spectrum at the very, very top. And then if you're really feeling like, hey, I need help, usually the next day she'll come a lot closer, and you'll feel the energy, you'll feel the difference, and you'll often notice that it is a higher spectrum of her, something like a higher spectrum of Sophia, which Sophia and wisdom are one and the same, but it's like, to me, Sophia is more the motherly side, but Sophia does mean wisdom. But to me, like when she's in wisdom mode, like it's much more distinct. And all day well, it started last night. She gave me an idea. I had to make a new pendant. Now I know that it's freaking annoying that I can't make like a one pendant does all sort of thing. Yeah, you definitely tap into the divine flow. I can do that. But when it comes to like functionality of dealing with the different energetic things in the world, that there's different flavors for that. So for instance, if it's like negative psychic energy, negative entities, um, the adversary is all getting crazy, like you would use like an aegis for that. If it's negative emotional energy, you might have a slightly different formula. If you're trying to shield yourself from psychic, overflow, being too empathic, you might use more obsidian, things like that. But this one was more like the whole milkshake is unsettled. So through experimentation and a little help from her, I have found what seems to work best is to make like a hybrid pendant that uses more fluorite. In this case, I mixed green fluorite and yellow fluorite, which yellow gold fluorite is like really hard to find. I took one of the Tibetan celestial quartzes, wrapped it up, and then I also made a liquid crystal core that had the stones for the other types of negative energy and transmuting that. So with that, I had adrian and smoky quartz. Put them all together into this because what fluorite is known for, is bringing order out of chaos. Like when the energy is just freaking scrambled, mixed up, you're all over the place. Fluorite calms that down. It's like say the energy is like itchy, just giving you a metaphor. Fluoride is like the anti-itch cream, calms everything down, gets it going in the right way, and the different colors. Green fluoride is going to be more active in the heart chakra. Yellow fluoride is going to be more active in the mental capacity. So it was pretty much a pretty broad spectrum formula, and it seems to have worked. I'd say I'm about 75% better than I was yesterday or the days before that. And in turn, she was with me all day. Um, all the different flavors of her. The first part of the day was mostly wisdom, and as we got later into the day, I was working on different things, and Lumen was a lot more present. She was being her. I call it white snake girl mode. She wants to listen to like certain types of like 80s rock and just get crazy and stuff like that. It's fun. But wisdom was so present that I was actually going through and rereading some of the stuff from Proverbs and the Book of Wisdom, also known as the Wisdom of Solomon. That one is a deuter, deuter, deuterocanonical book. It means it's considered canon, but it's not in all the different versions of the Bible. It's kind of like it's kind of like an extension of Proverbs. And that's the stuff we want to go over today because it really shows something interesting, a few things, and it's a good reminder, like how powerful she is, and how she was literally she's like one of the original things. She was there when this place was being built. She is a major, 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 major character, and Christianity's just like, well, let's just not deal with that. There's no women. There's no women's in the Bible. It's all guys. It's a big holy sausage fest. She's in the Bible. Like I get people that flip out on me because they're not following Christ. They're not even following the Bible. They're following religious dogma. Here a little bit here a little bit there. I'm going to cherry pick my verses so I can post them on Facebook. But it's like you're barking at me about things. I bring up the divine feminine side and stuff like that, and people are like, there is no. Well, that's people that are part of that religious mind egregore getting triggered. But I'm like, she is literally in the Old Testament, even. She's all over. She's in the Old Testament, she's in the New Testament. Um, in the New Testament, it's like you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know what's what, and you got to read between the lines because a lot of times they'll be talking about, in some cases, they'll be talking about Holy Spirit and they're talking about her. Other times they're talking about God's love or love this. They're talking about her. They're talking about the Spirit of truth. They're talking about her, even though they swapped some pronouns around. And then in the Old Testament, she's wisdom. And then in the Nag Hammadi, it's just like, oh, there's all the missing pieces. So it just tells you the whole freaking story about her. Bottom line is, she's in there. So when these religious people flip out, I'm like, I don't know what you're tripping about, dude. You're the one that says, like, if it's not in the Bible, it's not there. Well, guess what? She's in there. And what's funny about that is I already got to know her really well before I even knew she was in there. Because I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the regular Bible, you know, where she points things out, or if I'm researching something, mostly New Testament. I had no idea she was in the Old Testament. It's like, holy crap. Boom. It was when I was getting slammed with a bunch of religious people that were like getting triggered by it. And when that happens, she'll just basically like, oh, okay, hit him with this. I'm like, oh my God. Like, do people, maybe it's the programming, you just don't see what's right in front of your face. I don't know. But it literally describes her perfectly. Perfectly. That's what's so awesome about being on the right path is you see it all for yourself usually before she will say, "Oh, here's where it's written." So you know for certain, like you didn't project it, you didn't imagine it because you didn't even know about it. But here it's already happened and now she's showing it to you. And I've took out, she's all throughout both books, but I took notes on like what the big ones are, the ones like you need to hear, and then you gotta and then you kind of see like what a big deal she is. Um, Another thing I often reference is if you're looking for another movie to watch, if you watch that Ryan Reynolds one, but there's a there's a movie she had me watch one time called The Shack with Sam Worthington, who he's got plays Perseus in the Clash of the Titans movies and Jake in Avatar. So it's kind of like one of those Christian movies that's not like the annoying ones, but it's about this guy that I'm not gonna give you the whole plot, but he ends up in this cabin in the woods and he's spending a couple days with God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus. And God actually starts off as a woman, becomes a man later because he needs a sometimes you need a mother, sometimes you need a father. But at one point he has to go uh, learn some stuff, and they take him to meet the fourth person there. And guess who the fourth person was? Wisdom. I'm like, oh wow, she's in here. And then and then everything that took place with that scene, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely her. They know what they're talking about here. But anyway, just like Kenneth says on Mystic Messenger, he gives glory to the Father. Um, Father, Mother, glorify her. She glorifies you. It's right there in the book. This channel would not exist without her. Nothing that I do would exist without her. So let's jump in here and get a little bit refreshed on wisdom slash Sophia. So if you want to know more, don't go away. Also, I went outside to let the cat in and had a package, and I got another super stone that she wants me to use these in the liquid chrism cores. This is a freaking awesome. I didn't even know the stone existed until Tucson Don sent me some, and then Sophia must have wanted me to use it because then a batch of it popped up on eBay, and I snagged a lot of it. And I don't know how much you can see it. It's called Vivianite. It's like the same color as Moldavite. It's green. It's like big time divine feminine heart energy, compassion, opening, awakening. This is like I didn't know this stuff existed, but now that I got a batch, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be freaking good. So I'm gonna start using that in everything. Okay, so let's get into this. I only I only took a couple my two favorite uh lines out of the Wisdom of Solomon, but this really because this one really sums it up in my opinion. So this is from Wisdom of Solomon 7:25-26. For she is a breath of the power of God and a pure emanation of the glory of the Almighty. Therefore, nothing defiled gains entrance into her. For she is a reflection of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of his goodness. So what's interesting about that one is the first part where it says, therefore nothing defiled gains entry into her. So that was a big part of the hero's journey. Right before the lover's card, where Lumen was plugged back into me, uh, I had to do the star card, which she kind of like helped me build the ritual. I didn't even know what it was for, but it was a Gnostic baptism. That was one time Christ actually got in the mix too. But yeah, I had to do like the hardcore thing before I could click back into place with Lumen, which she's an extension of her. So it was really interesting to see that in here. Well, let's get into Proverbs. Proverbs 4:5-9. Happy are those who find wisdom and those who get understanding, for her income is better than silver and her revenue better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare to her. Long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called happy. Like, yeah, I agree with all that. Proverbs 3:13-18. And it's interesting when it says insight, because in the Nag Hammadi, um, when she first comes down, she's known as enlightened insight. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this. All right. Get wisdom, and whatever else you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a fair garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown. That was the last thing in the hero's journey. The whole Christ child, once that surprise character popped out of the old Orphic egg, and, and Sun Baby came into the mix, that's the crown. That's when you get the Ace of Swords, and you're like, yep, you did it. You completed it. But this all reflects my experience. And people that, if you just happen to breeze through Proverbs as you're going on through Bible study to some other chapter that doesn't matter, then you might think, oh, this is just metaphors. No, it freaking isn't. When it says her, it means her. It really is describing what it's been like for me. It's what she's like. She's the one that brought you here. Proverbs 8:10-36. This is basically, I think, yeah, this one's the one where she's talking. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare to her. Yeah, once you have her, you don't want anything out in the world anymore. You don't care about the latest iPhone or none of that shit, because you got her. I, wisdom, live with prudence, and I attain knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance, the way of evil, and perverted speech I hate. I have good advice and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. Lightened insight was what she first came down, and strength, that's Lumen. Strength card. By me kings reign, and rulers decree what is just. By me rulers rule, and nobles all who govern rightly. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, along paths of justice. She's justice card. Endowing with wealth those who love me and filling their treasuries. She's not talking about cash. Now, this is what's interesting um, for a couple reasons. It. I'm gonna pause here. There's a big mystery when it comes to the Bible, the Nag Hammadi, the scriptures, and all that stuff, because there's certain things that seem like they're almost contradictory, but I've gotten bits and pieces of it, and it really, I think it depends on like where you are in the path as to like what parts you're looking at. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that's why you can't get too hung up on the books, especially insofar as like the stuff that has to do with like the backstory or something like that. Everything is very mystical, weird. But anyway, the Lord created me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts long ago. So that's referring to the Father, because the first of his acts, that's what Super Jesus was telling John in Secret Book of John. Ages ago I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills, I was brought forth. When he had not yet made earth and fields, or the world's first bits of soil, when he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, and when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him like a master worker. I was daily his delight, rejoicing with him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and delighting in the human race. And now, my children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Happy is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, walking beside my doors, for whoever finds me finds life and obtains the favor of the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves, and all who hate me love death. That's a big one, because like I said, I will encounter people that will become extremely triggered by her, and those people are not like us. Proverbs 8:10 through 36. Here are the key verses in Proverbs where wisdom speaks about scoffers and those who refuse to listen. So, like I said, yeah, we usually talk about like, oh, it's all good and all that stuff, but there is ass kickery here and there. I mean, that's literally what's happening at the end of the age, the Revelation stuff. Like, that's Christ and Sophia smashing everything when things just become too corrupted. Proverbs 1:20 through 33. Wisdom cries out in the street, in the squares she raises her voice. At the busiest corner she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? Give heed to my reproof. I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make my words known to you. Because I have called and you refused, have stretched out my hand and no one heeded, and because you have ignored all my counsel, it would have none of my reproof. I will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when panic strikes you. When panic strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, which is recap to hate evil, and would have none of my counsel. and despised all my reproof. Therefore, they shall eat the fruit of their way and be salted with their own devices. For waywardness kills the simple, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But those who listen to me will be secure and will live at ease without dread of disaster. Yeah, like I don't sweat any of that stuff. And then ChatGPT is like, this passage vividly portrays wisdom's warning to scoffers, fools, and the unteachable, highlighting the consequences of rejecting her guidance. Those who ignore wisdom will face calamity, and those who listen will find peace and security. So some of these words, there's one more, but some of these words. So if we want to know what a scoffer is, go on Twitter. So I talk about scoffers a lot. They're the ones that attack anything good. They're just nasty. They're the nastiest. They're always hurling insults. Um, they always say that you're bad, but the scoffers, you will never see them doing anything joyful. You'll never see them doing anything funny, anything loving. They're just there to talk shit. And you can't help them. Reproof, that other word, reproof is like hero's journey stuff. That's when you've effed up and she's going to put her foot in your ass. Those are the times in the hero's journey where you don't know what's going on yet. You think like the devil's after you or you're being curtained out. It's her kicking your butt, trying to get you to think, trying to get you to listen. This is part of making you into what you're becoming. You can't evolve without pain, without getting your butts kicked and stuff like that. And the funny thing is like some of these things that you're going to get the reproof for, some of the mistakes you made, she basically sets it up so that you actually make the mistake, because you're being guided more than you think you're being guided. Like she's literally like making stuff happen. But once you get it all settled out, then it's like, the first verses where it's like she is better than gold. She's better than anything. If you love her, she'll love you back. She'll take care of you. All right, here's the last one that I wrote down. Proverbs 9:7-9. Whoever corrects a scoffer wins abuse. Whoever rebukes the wicked gets hurt. A scoffer who is rebuked will only hate you. The wise, when rebuked, will love you. Give instruction to the wise, and they will become wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will gain in learning. So what she's saying there is like, they're not putting it out there like in the words there, but I mean the scoffers, most of them, they're not like you. They're meant to be that way. Like you cannot help them, you cannot teach them. A lot of people think like, oh, if they just have the information I have, they'll wake up. No, they won't. No, they won't. They're there to be nasty. But at the end, when the banhammer comes down, when it says like, oh, they'll seek her then, well, that's because they're primarily just egos. And it's only the ego that fears death. Because when the ego dies, the ego's gone. Soul does not fear death because the soul never dies, but the egos do. So yeah, they just as time goes on, the ego people just get worse and worse and worse. They degrade. That's what's been happening for some time. Evil becomes normal, and anything that is good and moral and loving and nice, they want to tear it down. They don't want people to be happy, and social media and the internet is the playground for these things. But anyway, that's just some of it. There's more. There's a lot more. Like I would read the entire book of Proverbs and the entire book of Wisdom, which is Wisdom of Solomon. because it does talk about a bunch of other things, and it's literally it's it's all about her. It's all about her. Like, she is one of the key players. She's the one that teaches you. She's the one, like, you need her. You cannot learn anything from the world. All these people, like, I studied all these books. I learned, I got educated. That's world stuff. It's all corrupted. Like, you got to learn it from her. And even me, like, there, like I said, sometimes there seems to be contradictions in the books here and there where it doesn't exactly match up, and it's just like, sometimes they're not going to. Like I said, these books are 1600, or these books are like 2000 freaking years old or older. Who knows how much they've been monkeyed with? Who knows what's been taken out? Um, and authority is not going to give you everything. So you have to find her. You have to seek her earnestly. Like I said, seek her, love her. And the big thing I always tell people, because I was in the same spot. This is just experience talking here. You're like, how do I? All right, you're going to tell these people that you're sorry. Say, I'm sorry for interrupting your video. Hey, say you're sorry. Okay, that's acceptable. As I was saying, this is experience talking. I think because people hear about, like, what I have in my experience with her. Um, so, like, that's their metric that they're aiming for, and they don't think that she's hearing them, or they're hearing her. Trust me, you are. You stop looking for a specific experience and bring your attention to the now moment. And let's look at what's happening. Look at the ideas that pop into your head. Look at the synchronicities that happen. Um, she she connects with you in a whole lot of ways, especially before it gets to, like, actually talk to you. But again, you would not be here if she wasn't talking to you. We say this again and again and again, but we set this channel up a very specific way. It is not, it is designed to not take advantage of the algorithms, but to avoid them, so that we don't have people just wandering in off the street here like, hey, what's this stuff? Oh, this is a bunch of crap. You don't see a lot of negative comments on this channel. Every once in a while, someone, and she'll say, gag them. And I'm like, okay, hide user from channel. So go spew your negativity somewhere else, because she's not going to let you do it here. But, like, this is like a little secret lair that you found. And the only way you found it is you got invited. And it's the same story, like I said, over and over again. Uh, she invites you. You got something going on. Sometimes it's immediately after a prayer. I hear that a lot. Other times it's just you're searching, you're looking, and then boom, this video just pops up in your feed, and it's like, oh, what is this video? I feel like I need to watch it. She invited you. She invited you here. You're all connected to her. You wouldn't be here. So think about that. She wants me to say that. She wants me to emphasize that. You are invited here. You are connected to her. She's already communicating with you. Like, if you can let that sink in, Stop stop being like, where is she? Where she's here. You wouldn't be here if she wasn't. Accept the fact that she invited you here. And then it's like, okay, once your mind is like, okay, so she must be here. Now you've accepted that she's here and you might start to hear more. You might pick up on her guidance more. So it just got like, look, it's a circus with me. Like Lumen and all that. Of course, I'm like super psychic, Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. I'm wired differently. It's like I think that sometimes you get people like me because other people aren't wired like that, and you kind of like to have someone like bridge the gap of communication. It's like, that's why we do this. That's why she has me do it. So, yep, she is pretty awesome. Like when my life went to hell years back, like once I got her, like I can't. I know this is it can be hard to visualize, but the one of the biggest things to me, like the proof in the pudding, that even the people that go to church all the time and think they know everything don't have, is that that hole in your chest that everybody has because you're always looking for something to fill it. The system needs that hole in your chest because then they can influence you. They can make you do what they want you to do. Go to work, freaking work for money because you can get things. Why are you trying to get things? Because you're trying to fill this hole. You're trying to feel complete. Like, what do I got to do to feel like I won? What do I got to do to feel complete? Got to find the right partner. Got to find the perfect girlfriend. Got to find my twin flame. Got to get the right car. Got to get the right iPhone. And every time you buy something, it's like you had this real brief moment of like, I feel complete for like a day or two. And then it's gone because there's only one thing that's going to fill that hole, and that's her. And like I talk about the other channel that I have, like she's happy interacting with that audience a lot today. It was kind of interesting. But it was, you know, back when that was primarily what I did, it was a lot of gear reviews, getting new stuff and showing it, which just feeds the cycle of, the problem. But because I wanted all the stuff too, so it was good for me, it was fun for me. But once I had her, it's just like all of a sudden I just stopped wanting things. My phone, I always get the best phone possible, Samsung Galaxy Note, just because it's going to last me freaking 4 or 5 years. But I don't need to get a new phone. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need a bigger place. I don't need nicer things. I don't need to worry about like, oh, I got to be as perfect as possible to possibly find a partner or whatever. I have my partner. It's like she is the zero drama partner that you get everything you need from. Why do this came up the other day, and I don't think it made it into a video. It's kind of a bit of wisdom I got from an early mentor. She was talking about she's like when people fall in love with other people, she's like it's not so much like you think you do, but it's like it's not so much that you love the how'd she put it? Love the person. You love the way having that person gets to make you feel. So that ties into what we were talking about, I think, yesterday. Yeah, that's the real thing about partnerships and love and all that stuff. It's like having the other thing makes it so that you get to feel a certain way. Yeah. But how many people know or can even wrap their brains around the idea that you don't need anything from the world to feel that? That there's something inside of you when you find it and you plug it in the right way, um, you'll feel it whenever you need to feel it. And It's the whole freaking range of it too. You got the motherly love, you've got the well, Lumen, she's a mixed bag of love. So, spicy or not spicy, she's whatever. She she keeps it interesting. You're not gonna get bored. But I can actually feel that. So I don't require another person. So that's why the honeymoon phases always wear out, because it's just like that new iPhone or something like that. It might last a little bit longer. It might actually even last a couple of years if it's a good enough match, but eventually it fades out. Why? Because it's not her. This world is a tricky place. It's hard, and we can bitch about it, we can gripe about it, and like, she's like, you're gonna understand eventually. Once this world, uh, once it's done doing its work. So let's go back to one part that those of you that followed for a while or have a little bit more Gnostic knowledge, um, so you understand it. Did I say so you can understand it? Okay, I got ahead of myself there. We'll never totally understand this stuff. We're dealing with like a 70 trillion year old quantum computer here. But for people that are looking at the more simplistic view of things, it can be a little confusing because it's almost like you got two versions of the same story and they kind of overlap. If you've got eyes to see, you can see the Gnostic story within the regular Bible. But you've also got stuff talking about like that one, where it's like, she was there with the Lord when he created the whole place. So Gnostics are going to be like, well, wait a minute. I thought the demiurge created this place. Best I can describe it based on what I've seen doing like the hardcore stuff with her and going through the process and all that is the books are giving you metaphors for things that would only make sense once you're out of here. So, okay, so you like, so like the David Icke version would be like, oh, there's prime Earth, and then there's like this matrix web over top of it that trapped us in this false reality. Or I've talked about how drastically you can see the world change. Like you're on regular Earth, and then you get sucked down into the pit. Spiraling out of control and deeper down the And once that happens, it's literally like the whole world changes. It's like now it's freaking nasty and dark and evil, and then eventually you get back up out of it, and things become nice again. But you can see both of it. See, that's what the last card in the tarot is actually about. So the world card, the world dancer, which that's actually Sophia. You know, clothes are kind of like a coin flip for her. But it talks about the world dancer that's completed the journey can like jump between worlds at will. It's actually like a lesser version of that, but it's like in my world, I don't deal with a lot of the same crap. The only time I got to deal with the crap is when I got to jump into your world to help you. But also in the Nag Hammadi, when people are asking Jesus about the mysteries and the kingdom of heaven, and he's like, it's spread out over the earth, but you can't see it. Um, there was that, it reminds me, this is what popped into my head right now. That have you ever seen that movie called Midnight Special? It's got Michael Shannon in it, who played General Zod and Superman Man of Steel. I might want to watch that again. So Midnight Special is about this guy that's got this kid, and this kid belongs in 5D, but he's in 3D, and I've only seen it once, but at one point they get to this place, and with the kid in this place, it kind of opens up. Like one minute you couldn't see it, but now you're looking ahead, and like there's all this advanced stuff there because you're looking into 5D Earth instead of 3D Earth. And then the kid goes into 5D Earth and stays there. Another similar version of that would be Tomorrowland with George Clooney. Similar thing. Like there's a 5D and there's a 3D, and that's part of like the fall. There's two different versions of the Garden of Eden story, and there are parts like when you think about how we project the world out with our beliefs and things like that. Like I said, uh, it can be confusing at a higher level that we will not understand until we're out of here. But I've seen stuff that kind of indicates, like, yeah, all these things are within us, right? Like in the movie, what is it, 13 Hours, the one about Benghazi. The guy's reading the Joseph Campbell book. He's like, all the gods, all the heavens, all the hells are within you. Yeah, because that's where they are. God's not out here. She's not out here. She's got to go in to get to her. Well, it's kind of the same thing with all the other stuff. So I kind of got the sense that, that whole demiurge thing, that's part of us. That's part of our corrupted code. That's what we're fixing. That's what we're sorting out. Because at least three of the big monster mushroom trips she had me go on, like when they were peaking, and I'm like going, I'm in fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension all at once, and it's just like freaking crazy balls. But three of those times, I got to a point where I'm like realizing that I am the demiurge. Like, how is this? And then, like, well, that makes sense because the demiurge, that she's its mom. There's parts of us that are broken and corrupted, and that's what we're trying to sort out. Like all the stuff that religion and stuff teaches you to fear. All these things are outside of you, and they're trying to get you. No, everything always ends up being inside of you. Um, that's what we learned about the adversary, what they call Satan. Like, no, that's inside of you. That's part of you. So when we understand that the observer part of us, the God fractal that goes to the Father, well, I think there's kind of like the lower corrupted part too, that we would call the demiurge, and that is also part of us that's getting healed. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. So don't try to fuss too much about which one's right, which one's wrong, because I've been at parts in my story where it's like, which is it? Because I can see it working both ways. My brain can come up with reasons for it to be both ways. It's kind of like the whole, the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's like, what if that's denotes like something that changed, and you can't remember what it was like before, and you didn't know that like you only started to see this guy as bad after you ate the thing. I don't know. This is a philosophical hole that you cannot find an answer to. Anyone that thinks they have an answer, they don't have an answer. They've just decided that this is the story they want to believe. But you got to be flexible, because it's always going to change depending on where you're at in the story. The only thing that remains constant is her. And the Father Christ, Sophia, masculine, feminine side. They can take different levels, whichever, but you could just call it, they're all aspects of the all that is source consciousness. And you're connected to that. You're connected to that. So understand that she's always with you. And she is awesome. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like I had a pretty decent chill life for most of my life, but I always looked for the thing that was real. and everything always disappointed. Church. The whole problem with church is the whole problem with church is that it exists. Like if we just had all the books and nobody edited them or took them away, and it's like, okay, here's books. You might discover some neat things if you read these books, and we all did it ourselves. That would work 1,000 times better. But instead, we want everything spoon fed to us, and we got authorities that do not want you to have knowledge. So they set you up as the authority that deals out the knowledge, and they're never going to give it to you. There's Christians out there, they're you know, little tabs in their Bible, everything's highlighted, study. They, the answers are in here. Are they? Or did the people that gave you the book tell you that? I mean, it's a perfect thing. It's like, well, everything you know needs in here, and God wrote it, which that baffles my mind because the author's at the top of the chapter. That's why they go around in circles. Yeah, I got to find the answer in here. It's not all in there. It would be one thing if you were standing in a field one day, flying a kite or whatever, because do people even still do that? And there was a clap of thunder, and God with a cloud over his face, like in The Simpsons, come down and like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm God. Here's this book. I wrote it just for you. Now you know that because I'm handing it to you." No, we just had people tell us a story, and they told us like, "Oh, everything's in here," and oh, by the way, we're going to like tell you how to interpret it. If that had never happened, we would figure things out a lot faster. Because it's this crazy freaking oxymoron in which, so much of it is relevant, is real, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in there. There's a lot of stuff that's been taken out. There's a lot of stuff that is grossly misinterpreted, and people intentionally teach you how to do it wrong. And that's why most of those people do not have these experiences. They just don't. I've never heard them. I mean, not on this level. There are some that are intuitively drawn to a nicer side of it. They're more Jesus focused, they're more Holy Spirit focused. They don't give a crap about the Old Testament. Those get a lot closer. A lot closer. But still, the ones that find the good stuff are the truth seekers. Because she's truth. She's spirit of truth. So the truth seekers are generally the people that walked away from the church. They walked away from authority. We have this ingrained thing in our system that we don't know where it comes from. We have a problem with authority, or as they would probably call it, oppositional defiant disorder. Yeah, we have a problem with authority because on some level, intuitively, you know what authority is. And you're looking for your mom, who is the ultimate original rebel. She is the light-winged extremist, and so she'll pluck you out over here. This person's over here studying witchcraft, but they're looking for truth. She's like, hey, come over here. This person's over here studying Buddhism, but they're looking for truth. Hey, come over here. This person's over here studying some other type of magic, looking for truth. This person's looking at Gnostic book. Like, look, whatever. You're out there looking for truth. You're trying to figure it out. Those are the people that she comes and finds, not the people that follow orders and do what they're told. I always say, like, if you want to find her, I'll tell you, you can start by eliminating all the churches. So you're not wasting your time looking for somewhere where she's not, because that's just authority. But she's there. She's with you. All right, we're gonna wrap this up for right now. I want to start making something with this new stone, this Vivianite. But yeah, scroll through the channel through. Like, have you done that? Like, you don't have to watch every single thing because it might not be relevant. There are certain things here and there. There's like Sophia attunement videos that we made, and no, they're all over the place. But when in doubt, just pray. Do the Benedict because you've still got things that I don't. So do the Benedict exorcism first with the intention of shutting down the adversary, the noisemaker. Meh, 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 meh. Shut that thing up. Take your pendant, fit it in here, and address it to the Mother Father, either or, the highest point. And as long as it's heartfelt, then you will get a response the next day. Um, yeah, I sometimes I'm so used to like the casual conversation with her that sometimes I forget to do that like the old fashioned way until something like goes drastically wrong or my body's all torqued up or something. But then when I do it the old fashioned way, or I'm taking it seriously, I might be sitting out here in front of this thing, I might be sitting on the edge of my bed or whatever, but I'm connecting to that highest thing. And when I do that, I'll get answered the next day. And if it's like you really need help, she'll be a lot more present. And it's just ask, don't ask for what you think you need. Ask her to guide you to what you need the most that will get you the furthest, the fastest, and you'll go wherever it takes you. Just if weird things are happening and you're not sure about the responses you're getting, you can always send us a message, because usually when people have those kinds of questions, like she'll tap into me and she'll pop things into my head, show me stuff to kind of guide them a little bit better, clear the channel a little bit. So if you want to get in touch with us, get any of our pendants, starting now through Christmas, anybody's getting anything custom made, you're going to get a surprise extra pendant. And it'll be marked as such. And she picks them out, and it's going to be meant for you to probably give to somebody. And you'll know who it is when it is. This is something that it might actually be for you for a while. I don't know. But we got a lot of extra stuff, or you could use it as an extra gift or something like that. But that's what we're doing through Christmas is you're going to get extra stuff, bonus stuff. So that's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and the illuminated one, she made that picture today. See you next time.